everyone, it's Jean from Gallagher Domanski. This past week, President Biden gave his very first State of the Union address. So I have a copy of the speech, and I thought that I would provide you with some quotes from the speech that have to do with EB2 NIW in the sense that they show national importance, because obviously they're important to the president if he's talking about it during his State of the Union address.
Okay, so the first quote that I have has to do with infrastructure. And President Biden says, now our infrastructure is ranked 13th in the world. We won't be able to compete for the jobs of the 21st century if we don't fix that. So how can he help us compete for jobs of the 21st century? Well, maybe if we offer some people some national interest waiver green cards from other countries, then they can help the United States to compete for these jobs of the 21st century. And then he says some other things in between. And then he says we're going to have an infrastructure decade. So, which is good because we don't have premium processing for the NIW, right? So if it's going to last for a decade, then even if they don't read your petition for 18 months, it will still be relevant. Okay, later in the speech, he talks about the Bipartisan Innovation Act that he's trying to get through Congress. But really, the part of what he's saying that I think has to do with EB2 NIW is on the topic of emerging technologies and American manufacturing. If you watch my other video on using the footnotes of the USCIS policy manual, you'll see some other references to this, other sources that you can use in your EB2 NIW petition. But what President Biden says in his speech is that's why it's so important to pass the Bipartisan Innovation Act sitting in Congress that will make record investments in emerging technologies and American manufacturing. And then I have, you see I have ellipses there. He says a bunch of other things. He talks about Intel building a factory and lots of jobs that are going to be created in the Midwest. But then toward the end of that part of the speech, she says some of the most sophisticated manufacturing in the world to make computer chips the size of a fingertip that power the world and our everyday lives. Smartphones, internet, technology we have yet to invent. So there has to do with both American manufacturing, where they're talking about, to make technology, but also that the United States needs more inventors to create this technology. So this can be quoted there if you are somebody who has some patents, or if you are in a STEM field, you might use this quote as well. Or if you're in manufacturing, as far as automation or supply chains, anything like that, where you can talk about manufacturing, you could use this quote as well. Okay, and finally, clean energy is another topic that was covered in the State of the Union address, and particularly because of the rising cost of gasoline. So he started talking with that. He says cut energy costs for families an average of $500 a year by combating climate change. And then he goes on to say, let's provide investments and tax credits to weatherize your homes and businesses to be energy efficient and get you a tax credit, double America's clean energy production in solar, wind, and so much more. Lower the price of electric vehicles, saving you another $80 a month because you'll never have to pay at the gas pump again. So there are a lot of fields covered in just this short paragraph that that if you're watching this, you may be able to relate as far as your career goes. So if you have any endeavors in climate change, clean energy, solar, wind, they want to lower the price of electric vehicles. So if you're in automotive field and you can help to mass produce electric vehicles so that the prices are lower, that might work as well for you to make a clear argument that your work is in the national interest because President Biden talked about it in his State of the Union address. So that's the third one, and hopefully that is helpful for you. And you can actually Google President Biden's State of the Union address if you want to get the whole speech. You can find it in several sources.